this episode of Velocity Labs, we are upgrading the suspension on my 1G DSM. The old stock suspension on my Eclipse has just about had it, so it's time to change it out. To do that, I've got a set of Megan coilovers. There aren't many options for coilovers for 1G DSMs anymore, and that makes sense since the car's about 25 years old or so. Luckily, Megan Racing is still producing coilovers for the 1G DSM, so we're going to install some and upgrade the tired old suspension that I've been dealing with. One of the reasons that I wanted coilovers instead of springs and shocks is because I wanted to be able to adjust the height of the car. I'm planning on keeping it near stock height, maybe drop down an inch or so, but I want to be able to keep my ground clearance on public roads. But if I'm doing any type of racing, it's going to be nice to be able to drop it down to a bit more aggressive stance. So we're going to go ahead and throw them on the car, but before we do that, we're going to go ahead and cruise around a little bit on the stock suspension, get a little bit of a before and after comparison before we install these things. So let's head out. Now, the stock suspension on this car isn't great. It might have been okay when it was new like 25 years ago, but since then it's pretty worn out. I don't know if it's ever been replaced, I kind of doubt it. This thing handles more like a 1985 Ford LTD than a little sports car. I mean, it literally just floats down the road. And even just going around a corner at like 25, like I'm doing now, just a tiny little turn, the car is still lots of body roll. Even when I punch it from a rolling start, the car still likes to sit back on its haunches. Definitely should have gone straight. There is something up here that is causing a major traffic jam, and it was earlier today too. Secret exit in 3, 2... Oh god, somebody else secret exited in front of me. Alright, so we're here. First things first, let's grab some measurements for comparison. The rear driver side is 701 millimeters from the ground to the fender. The front driver's side is 690 millimeters from the ground to the fender. Front passenger side is 681 millimeters, and rear passenger side is 715 millimeters. Next up, let's do a couple launches and see what it looks like on the stock suspension. This is a light launch with the two-step set at 4,500 RPMs. Let's freeze frame that launch and have a look. Right away, we see the back completely squat down and almost touch the rear end of the ground. The front end is way up in the air and the car is horribly off balance. It doesn't even totally level out until it's completely out of frame. That was fun. Let's launch it a couple more times. For science, of course. All right, and here's a freeze frame and it's just as bad. The front is way up, the back is way down. Let's back it up and get one more launch in. And here's what all three launches look like. Not good. Now we're going to set up the least controlled skid pad experiment ever. The ground is bumpy and uneven, we don't have any good measuring equipment, and the driver is completely unqualified. But is that gonna stop me from trying? Not a chance. I'll be doing a complete 360 with a radius of 50 feet to see how many G's I can pull on a phone app that I downloaded. Do a nice little warm-up slow lap. About it. That's about the limit we're at before we start slipping. All right, so my app says 0.30 G's on my first run. Now, I don't know how accurate this app is, but as long as it's consistent, we should be okay. So let's go ahead and try one more run. And I'm slipping. All right, that wasn't bad. All right, and for our second run, we got 0.26 on our run. So let's go ahead and do one more and see what we get. Starting to slip. All right, that'll do it. All right, third run, we got 0.26, so pretty close. All right, we got three values. Let's go ahead and call that good. Let's go ahead and throw these coilovers on and see if we get any improvement. All right, so we'll double check our stock measurements on all four corners, and they're the same as before.
I also made additional measurements using the outer ring on the tires and got the same differences in height. So we'll use these measurements to help set the near stock height with the new coilovers. All right, you know the drill. Jack up the car, open the hood, and then pop the wheels off. We're going to start with the front first. There's a 12mm bolt holding the brake line bracket on. Remove that first. Next, pop out the 2 nuts here. And then the 3 holding the strut at the top. It's that easy. Then just wiggle the strut out and be careful not to snag the brake lines. We do the same thing on the other side, then let's throw them on the scale for a comparison. The stock front suspension weighs in at 20.4 pounds per side.
I think these are actually lighter. Oh, they definitely feel lighter. And on. Way lighter. Barely 13 pounds.
The new coilovers only weigh 13.8 pounds. We just saved 14.5 pounds just by changing the front suspension. And anyone that has ever tried making their car lighter knows that 15 pounds is a significant chunk of weight. Not bad for a suspension upgrade.
All right, so first thing we're gonna do is make sure that the preload is set properly. The spring should not be compressed at all, but it should be snug. And you should be able to turn it with your hand, but not easily. So I can turn this one a little bit. It's probably set up properly when they shipped it, but might as well go ahead and make sure.
We need to make sure that there is 0 preload on the spring, meaning it shouldn't be compressed at all. So we're going to loosen it up and double check to make sure.
All right, so now you can see we've got some play in the spring, which we don't want. What we want to do is make sure that it's snug up against there, but not compressed at all.
Once we know that's correct, we can check the other one and then go ahead and throw them on the car. I also did a quick measurement to make sure that they were identical before installing. An installation, as always, is just disassembly in reverse.
This is one of those things that always gets me, and I feel like I'm just really dumb. Because all I'm doing is putting a bolt in a hole. But when it's a bolt like this and it's behind something and I can't see it and I kind of have to feel my way in, always seems like it takes me way longer than it should. Like I should have had this in under a minute for sure, and I've been dicking with this for at least 2.5 right now. Right, snug that bitch up. So, pro tip, if you own a DSM, first 2 tools you're going to want to buy, 10mm and 12mm ratcheting wrenches. Use them on just about everything.
We do the same thing on both sides. Make sure everything is torqued down to spec, and then we can finally throw the wheels back on the car. Those aren't edits, by the way. I'm actually that fast at putting wheels back on. Even got banned from the NASCAR pits for performance-enhancing lugs. Anyway, that looks pretty good. A quick measurement shows that we're at 660mm on the left front and 645mm on the right front. So about 30mm and 36mm lower than we were with the stock suspension. So just a little over an inch lower than stock right now. That's perfect. We'll fine-tune these heights later. For now, let's go ahead and get the rear swapped out. Man, these are looking pretty ragged. Luckily, these are even easier than the front to swap out. 1 bolt for the brake line bracket, 1 large bolt holding the bottom on, and then 2 small nuts up top. Then just pop them out. Or if you're lucky like I am, you'll get to hit them repeatedly with a large hammer because they seized themselves to the car in the past 25 years. Also, try not to get PB Blaster all over your camera. Probably not good for electronics. Anyway, there was much more pounding, much more penetrating fluid, and more pounding again. Now, I know that actually sounds like a fun time in the right context, but trust me, it wasn't. I finally gave up and moved to the other side, only to have the same problem again. All right, this one's really stuck on here too, so both sides are really seized on there, which really makes me think that both of these are original. But I've been soaking it in PB Blaster. I'm gonna hit it with a bunch of heat, get it really hot, and then start beating on it again. Well, it's starting to smell. Well, I know it's getting hot because it's starting to smell like burning rubber. There we go. Woohoo! This thing is absolutely shot. Mitsubishi, it's hot. Mitsubishi KYB. Yeah, I'm pretty sure these are original to the car. Let's go ahead and weigh these things. Actually, we'll go ahead and pop this one out first. Same thing, we'll get it nice and hot. Alright, it's starting to smell like burning rubber again. Let's go ahead and give that thing a whack. And I'm gonna use a little bit of a bigger hammer. Hammer in quotation marks. Jeez. Oh, it's starting to smell again. Ow, fuck. It's starting to smoke again, so it's pretty damn hot. Oh, I think I got it. Yep. That was a pain in the butt. Look at that. It's still smoking. Like, it's hot up here where I'm holding on to it. It's actually still warm. But let's go ahead and throw these up on the scale and see how much they weigh. Yeah, and these gotta be the original ones that came on the car, because they still say Mitsubishi on them. Ugh. The stock rear suspension weighs in at 10.29 pounds, and the new coilovers weigh in at 9.18 pounds, so just over 2 pounds weight savings on the rear. That brings the total weight loss to 16.86 pounds. Race diet for the win. Now, if I can just drop off the 15 pounds of turkey, gravy, and Christmas cookies from this winter, we'll be golden. We set the rear coilovers the same as before, 0 preload but snugly in place, and I also cleaned up the mounting point with some sandpaper and added some grease just to make sure that they don't get stuck again. Once that's done, we pop the new coilovers in place and start putting everything back together. Get the car lowered back down to the ground, take a couple quick measurements for reference, and then let's go take this thing back out on the road. Damn, that's pretty. And here's the new launches with the new suspension. Same launch settings as before, 4,500 RPMs and taking it easy. Number 1. And here's 2. And here's number 3. And here's some before and after comparisons. The difference in how smooth the car felt while launching is staggering. On the tired old stock suspension, the car felt like it was sluggishly shifting its weight around, trying to get moving. With the new coilovers, it feels like the weight of the car is going exactly where it's supposed to, forward. I cannot wait to get this thing back on the drag strip and see my new 60-foot time.
All right, so we got the launch test done, and I gotta say the car feels amazing. It's so much smoother than it was before. So let's go ahead and do the circle track on our homemade skid pad, and we'll see what we can get. All right, on our first run, we got 0.48, which is already a big improvement over our first skid pad test. But let's go ahead and do a couple more and see what we get. All right, on the second run, we got 0.46. We'll go ahead and do one more just for safety. Slipping, slipping. Ooh, not slipping, slipping. Oh, there we go. Oh man, that is so much better than it was before. All right, let's see what we got on that run. All right, on that third run, we got 0.45. I thought I was doing a little bit better that time, but apparently not, according to my janky phone amp. But yeah, that's pretty good. Let's go ahead and pull up the originals and we'll compare those three. All right, so I've had the coilovers on the car for a few weeks now, and right away my first impression is just laser accuracy. The car goes exactly where I want it to, and it's handling better than it ever has before. The launches in particular are amazing. When I had the stock suspension on the car, it almost felt like I was starting off going backwards because the car was leaning backwards so much. But as soon as I put the coilovers and launched it for the first time, it felt like I was getting shot out of a slingshot. Just straight forward right away. No weight transfer when I was taking off. It was fantastic. I can't wait to get this thing on the track and see what my 60 foot's gonna be. Speaking of accelerating, even going in a straight line, there's a huge improvement on how the car accelerates. Before, even if I was rolling at about 40 miles an hour and punched it, the car would still lean back really far and there was a huge weight transfer going on. Not anymore. As soon as I hit it, straight forward, completely level, shoots like a laser. I love it. Not a Plymouth laser. Well, kind of a Plymouth laser, but more like a Mitsubishi Eclipse. So kind of like a laser, yeah. Anyway, it's fantastic. Now, I have noticed that all this newfound stability does come at a price, and that price is stiffness. The car does ride a lot more stiff than it did before on the stock suspension, and that's to be expected. The spring rates of the coilovers are way more stiff than the stock suspension, and that's what's giving us all that extra stability in cornering and accelerating and launching the car. But whenever you're upgrading the performance of a vehicle, you're inevitably going to sacrifice a little bit of comfort that goes along with it. Luckily, these coilovers do come with 32 levels of dampening, and I have them turned all the way, almost all the way to the softest setting, and the ride quality is definitely bearable on the street. It's not fantastic, but the handling is amazing. So it's a bit of a trade-off that you're going to put up with whenever you're upgrading the suspension on your car. I think in the future I may actually go with a little bit softer spring rate, and those are pretty easy to change out on coilovers anyway. Right now though, I'm enjoying the heck out of these.
All right, so did I mention that I can't wait to see what my 60-foot time's gonna be? There's only a couple more months until the drag strip opens up. I can't wait to get out there again. We're gonna be doing a couple more videos on setting up and adjusting the coilovers, and we're gonna be doing some racing as well. In the meantime, there's tons of work to get done, so make sure you hit subscribe. You're not gonna wanna miss it.
All right, not bad. Ooh, pretty bad. Oh, well that didn't work. I don't think that worked, because it didn't keep it. Oh, I must have hit calibrate. All right, so we need to do that again. Round 2. All right, let's see what we got. Son of a bitch. All right, this is not working. Oh, I need to record. Ha!